Hello and welcome to the weekly Pre-Shabbat AGJC Zoom call. Each week we gather together the Jewish communities of all 6 GCC countries and our families and friends from around the world to hear an inspirational message before Shabbat, light candles, hear Dvar Torah, pray and read a section from the weekly Torah portion. Today we will hear from Rabbi Yaakov Baruch, president and founder of Kahal Kadash Sha'ar Hashemayim, the Spanish and Portuguese Jewish congregation in Indonesia, and the founder of the Indonesia Holocaust Museum. And he will speak about the history of the Jewish community of Indonesia and about the community today. The Association of Gulf Jewish Communities is the umbrella organization for the Jewish communities of the GCC countries that are building and enhancing Jewish life in the region. While each community is independent, we share a common goal and vision for Jewish life to flourish in the Gulf to the benefit of both residents and visitors. To stay updated on AGJC events, please follow us on Twitter at @GulfJewish and visit our website www.gulfjewish.org. Shabbat Shalom and continuing to pray for peace to prevail around the world.
Thank you very much, Shuda. And now we'll head to RD, who's going to light the Shabbat candles.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom from Jerusalem. Just a quick word before I light the candles. I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but every single week since the beginning of the war, one of the Chabad Rebbetzins in Jerusalem hosts a challah bake. The first few months were predominantly for the evacuees, and they were very hard times, and people almost couldn't leave their hotel rooms to come to it, but eventually they did. And then from probably second month onwards, every single week it's another mother of the hostages. And these mothers are on another level from us altogether. It's a remarkable time. And last week, when actually nobody wanted to do anything in Israel at all, we were all just not functioning. Still, we got to this challah bake, and it was the mother of Idan Shviti, this wonderful woman who made us fall in love with her son, who's hostage. And 2 days ago, it was yesterday, there was a challah bake with the sister-in-law of the Sharabis, and it was joyous and also terribly sad. And just one word about what she told us is that Yossi was murdered. They know that he was murdered in captivity in January, and Eli is still in Gaza. But Eli doesn't know that on October 7th, his wife and his daughters were killed. So, we managed to get ourselves, have a joyful time with them. And everyone is sort of just trying to get through this period of time with so much grief around, but also trying to focus on any joy that we can. So may that continue to find the light. And Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvah v'tzivanu lahadlik nei Hashem Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, RD. And now we'll head to Alex, who's going to lead us in Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likat kala pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala pnei Shabbat nikabela. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך מלוכה, קומיצי מתוך אפיך, רב לך שבט בימי קבך, והוא יחמול עלי חמלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימים ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Thank you, Alex. Do you want to introduce today's speaker as well?
With pleasure. So, in 2008, when it was announced that Ambassador Huda was appointed as ambassador for Bahrain, I think a lot of Jews in the world were surprised, first of all, that a Jewish woman was appointed ambassador for a Muslim Arab country. And some of them even were surprised to hear at all that there is a Jewish community and that there was a Jewish community in Bahrain already for more than 100 years. Same thing happened a little bit with the UAE, when in December 2018, there was an article in Bloomberg that was talking about the so-called hidden synagogue of Dubai. Many people were surprised to hear that there was actually a Jewish community in Dubai. And both countries, of course, came even more in the news about the Jewish communities when the Abraham Accords were signed. Being part of the community in the UAE, I always was quite excited to share the story about the Jewish communities in the Gulf. But myself, I must admit, was quite surprised to hear that there is a Jewish community actually in Indonesia. And I've been following Rabbi Yaakov Baruch on social media already for many years. And I always wanted him to come here on this call in order to talk about this community. But unfortunately, being in Indonesia, when we are making the Zoom on Friday, it's already Shabbat. So let me tell a little bit about Rabbi Baruch himself. He was born and grown up in Jakarta, married with his wife Leah, and blessed with two children, Levi Yitzchak and Rachel Chana. He studied under the guidance of Rabbi Chaim Ovadia and teachers from Torah V'Ahava, and he received smicha from Darkei Israel, and he established the synagogue in Indonesia since 2004, and quite surprisingly, and this is also something that many of us were not aware, a Holocaust museum in 2022 in Indonesia, and as you know, Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country in the world. So Rabbi Baruch, please.
And before we turn to Rabbi Baruch, I did give you co-host permission, so you could share your presentation.
Thank you. Shalom, everyone. Thank you, Alex, for introducing me. Okay, I want to share. One moment. Also. Okay, can everyone sit?
Perfect.
Okay. So I will start the presentation about the Jewish community of Indonesia, which you can see the backgrounds. This is one of the event of Bar Mitzvah in Surabaya, East Java. It's around 1930 something, around 37 or 36. This Bar Mitzvah is performed in family Masri. And then I will continue with the Jewish history in our country, that the history of the Jews in Indonesia is begun with the arrival of the early European explorer that mostly came from Holland or from Netherlands, because Indonesia was a colony of Dutch for about more than 300 years. And also a settler that came from German, England, and some Eastern Europe. And also the first Jews was arrived, according to the history, in the 7th century, when the Dutch company, is called it VOC, came to start a trader in Indonesia. They came for hunting spices. And according to the Jewish historian, Mr. Jacob Safir, in the 1850 something, when he came to the Batavia or to Jakarta now, he write about the Jewish community in Dutch East Indies, or the Oost Indies, a part of the Dutch colony at the time. He found that there is a 20 Jewish family in the city, and also several more in Surabaya and Semarang. That's why if you came to Indonesia now, you will find it a few Jewish cemetery that located in these three main city, and also in my city, it's in Manado as well. And most of the Jews living in Dutch East India in the 19th century, they were a Dutch, because they worked as a merchant and also affiliated with the colonial regime. But the second community that later on became the biggest one is a Iraqi Jewish community who came direct from Iraq or Aden. Mostly they come to India or to Mumbai, and after from Indonesia, they split, go to Singapore, and some to Penang and Australia. So the Jews, there is a two big group, one from Dutch, one from Netherlands, and one from Iraq. They share one synagogue on the time that was built around 1930 something in Surabaya, and they start the first Jewish community of Indonesia. It's called Israelitische Gemeente van Surabaya. As you can see, they performed the wedding in Batavia, the Jewish wedding. This is in the Hotel des Indes on the time. And also they performed the Brit Milah in Surabaya Synagogue. And it happens around 1920 to 1930. It's before the Second World War. After the war, there is a little genocide to Dutch people, including the Jews, by the locals. That's why many Jews flew from Indonesia and they moved to LA, the Los Angeles. They start a synagogue in Kahal Joseph in Pico area. And some went to Singapore and Australia, like to Sydney or to Perth. And also there is a few family from Surabaya and Jakarta. They make Aliyah and they live in Petah Tikva and the Ramat Gan. The present community that I serving since about 15 or until 10 years ago is the rest of the Iraqi and the Dutch Jewish family that still live in Jakarta. So back to 10 or 15 years ago, there is still, you found the old people that used to attend the Bar Mitzvah in the Surabaya synagogue and the group in Jakarta also. But later on, most of them already passed away now, only left a few people. And then, as you can see now, how we celebrate the Jewish holiday. I perform the chuppah for like for Australian Jewish couple in Bali, because many people want to come to Bali for wedding. And also there is a new people who make yur from the local Indonesian that we celebrate Hanukkah together. And as you can see, this is my kids before the Seder Pesach, and also the Sukkot in our synagogue in North Sulawesi. And then what becomes our mission in the future is about to start a Jewish education, because now we already success to approach to the Indonesian government to make the Judaism is recognized, and for the important things about to make the education in the future. It's very difficult for us to get like a Sephorim or like a Jewish things, because not only a price is expensive, but also it's difficult to get the shipment. That's why, as you know, if there is no Jewish education, there will be no Jewish existence in some countries. So this is that become our vision in the future. Baruch Hashem, we already have a kosher mikvah, and I opened the Holocaust Museum to educate the Indonesian about the important things, how to fight the anti-Semitism, because Indonesia is not only anti-Israel, but they're very anti-Jews. And by become a part of the educate about them about Holocaust, most of the people now who visit the museum, they have a new knowledge about the Holocaust, and they have they hated toward the Jews, and the Israelis start to become more or less. That's why for me that's very important. I will not talking too much about the presentation because I want to give a more chance for all of you to make a question and answer. So thank you very much. Now I give back to Alex.
Any questions, Ariella?
Oh, your camera. Yeah, no, I don't see, we have a question in the box. Do you have a Jewish school?
Yes. We didn't have a Jewish school for now, but a few months ago, I just start open a header for the kids, because we have a few kids like more than 5. So I start to teach them about Aleph Bet and some Jewish holiday. But what we gonna set in the future is to make for the adult class as well, or also for teenagers, because we live like in the synagogue, we only have like 25, 30 people, but the other Jews live in other part like in Jakarta, in Bali, and Surabaya. But we live among almost 300 million people in Indonesia, so a very micro minority, but we try to be access. So that's why that's our concern and our vision and mission to have a Jewish education. Thank you.
Can I
Well,
ask,
Yeah, we
Go
have
ahead.
we have a couple of questions now coming in. How many students are in the school?
Now in a header is just about 6 or almost yeah, between 6 to 7 kids, because sometimes they not everyone come, but we only start now for weekend, like also for Shabbat, but we hope to do it in the weekly after this. Now I'm in US. I become the participant of IVLP now. I'm invited by the U.S. Department of State to visit America, and I try to make connect with the Jewish community here in New York and New Jersey and everywhere. So I hope in the future that we can have like more connected each other and get more help about the this Jewish education planning.
So
Wonderful.
how large is the community? And does the government support you, including by providing security to whatever the institutions are?
Okay, thank you. For now, we have about 120, 130 people for the local Jews. Most of the 50 people is still the left Jews is still exist in my hometown in Surabaya and Jakarta as well. They were descendant of the Dutch and the Iraqi Jews, and we have about more 70 people like they make the giur, the locals. That's why because the people who came from Dutch and the Iraqi background, they still using a Dutch passport, so they're not considered Indonesian. But the local will make giur now because they're local Indonesian. I approached the government to provide administration for their rights. We have a problem with the ID card because in the ID card we need to put before for 50 years the Jews only have 6 options that we need to put Islam, Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Hindus, or Confucian. And after I try to fight for the government about our rights, now we have a 7 option that we can use. But there's one option is called believe in one God Almighty. So at least now the Jews didn't have to put Islam or Christian anymore in our ID card. And this is what I try to approach the government step by step. But until now, the government didn't have any help. Like we don't get any help for about the financial from the government because the government only help these 6 main religion in this country, and we only do it with our own budget from our own community. And for the security, I can tell you that Baruch Hashem, the synagogue that I run in the North Sulawesi is located in the Christian community majority. So that's why they help to take care of our synagogue as well, because they have a problem with the radical Muslim in other part, like in Java or in Sumatra. So the local is protect our synagogue, and I can tell you even after October 7, they are very pro-Israel. They have the like Israeli flag in their houses, and they fight with the pro-Palestinian demonstration. They bring Israeli flag and they fight each other, and yeah, I can see how they have a big support. But for the security, we didn't really have one because the local helped carrying our synagogue, especially during the like Shabbat service or Jewish holiday service.
Okay, we're gonna, just because of Shabbat coming in, we're gonna move along. What I would ask is there are a lot of really good questions coming in. Some are actually coming in direct to like Huda and I, and some are coming in via text. If everybody could put their questions in here, we do want them to get answered. And perhaps Rabbi Baruch, you could just reply to the ones in the chat on the side of the screen. So if everybody could put their questions in there, then we'll ask him to kindly share the responses to those. But in the meanwhile, we thank you very much for joining us and for sharing, about your community. And now we'll turn to Dayan Livnat, who's going to share some words on this week's Parsha.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here again. I would like to speak a little bit about this week's Haftarah, the reading from the prophets that goes along with the parasha. And we are now reading the Haftarah of the 5th Haftarah of what's called the Shev de Nechamata. These are the 7 Haftarot of comfort. These are Haftarot that we read from the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, after we mourn for the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And for the next 7 Shabbatot, we read about prophecies from Yeshayahu, from the last 20 or so chapters of Yeshayahu, which are all dedicated to prophecies about the redemption. And these are prophecies of nechama, of comfort to the Jewish people after all the troubles that they have faced in their history. And it is a positive note within the book of Yeshayahu after many troubling prophecies in the earlier chapters of Yeshayahu. So I would just like to focus on one idea from the Haftarah, which says, for a brief moment I have left you, but then with great mercy I will gather you together. With anger I have hid my face from you for just a moment, and with great mercy and kindness I will have mercy on you, said your Redeemer God. So we have this idea of God turning away from us for just a brief moment. This is an idea that repeats itself in other places in Tanakh. We say from Tehillim in the regular day of Tefillah, we say to ourselves, when everything is going well, we're fine. Nothing can ever happen to us. But then God turns away from us for just a moment, and then all of a sudden, we are devastated. So we see from here a few points. One is that really, as long as everything is great, we should be so appreciative that's the case, because it's really only because God is keeping us, Hashem is keeping it that way and is protecting for us. And also when bad things do happen, it's not that God has actually done them, but rather he's turning his face away from us and removing his protection. And that's really what allows all the evil to come forth. And sometimes it happens for just a brief moment, but those brief moments can be terrifying. And every day that it is not like that, and every day that we are protected, we should really be thanking Hashem for his protection. And we hope indeed that these prophecies will be fulfilled, that the troubling moments will be just momentarily, but the kindness and mercy that Hashem will bestow upon us, that will be eternal. Shabbat shalom to everyone.
Thank you so much, Dayan Livnat. Shabbat shalom. And now I'll turn to Alex, who will read from this week's Parsha.
לא תטה משפח גר ויתום ולא תחבול בגט אלמנה וזכרת כי עבד היית במצרים ויבדך אדוני אלוהיך משם על כן אנוכי מצווך לעשות את הדבר הזה כי תקצור צירך בשדך ושכחת עומר בשדה לא תשוב לקחתו לגר היתום ואלמנה יהיה למען יברך אדוני אלוהיך בכל מעשה ידיך כי תרבות זיתך לא תפאר אחריך לגר ליתום ואלמנה יהיה כי תבצור כרמך לא תולל אחריך לגר ליתום ואלמנה יהיה וזכרת כי עבד היית בארץ מצרים על כן אנוכי מצווך לעשות את הדבר הזה.
Thanks, Alex. Now we'll turn back to RD, who's going to read the English translation.
You should not subvert the rights of the stranger or the fatherless. You should not take a widow's garment in pawn. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt and that your God redeemed you from there. Therefore do I enjoin you to observe this commandment. When you reap the harvest in your field and overlook a sheaf in the field, do not turn back to get it. It shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, in order that your God may bless you in all your undertakings. When you beat down the fruit of your olive trees, do not go over them again. That shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, do not pick it over again. That shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Always remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore do I enjoin you to observe this commandment.
Thanks, RD. And now we'll head back to Dayan Livnat, who's going to lead us in the Chief Rabbi of the UK's prayer.
Should be doing it.
I think the rabbi had to drop off, so I will do it instead. Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צו ישראל וגואלו. Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צו ישראל וגואלו. באנו לפניך בתפילה ובתחנונים טמאים ושבורי לב על המכות האכזריות אשר הוכתה ארצנו הקדושה ועמך ישראל ביום אשר הפכה חגנו לאבל. אנו מתאבלים על אובדם מאות אנשים, נשים וטף אשר נרצחו בזדון ומתפללים על נפשותם. אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לאלפי פצועי עמך. אבינו מלכנו רחם על אחינו השבויים והוציאם מאפלה וצל מוות לגאולה. מוסכותיהם תפתח וממצוקותיהם הצילם והשיבם מהרה לחיק משפחותיהם. אבינו מלכנו הגן על משפחות ישראל מאימת מוות וחזק חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל אשר שמים נפשם בכפם והצביעם לקראת אויבינו. אבינו מלכנו אשר בידך לב מלאכים ושרים תקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך את שרי ישראל לנצח במלחמתם כדי שיהיו תושבי השננים מהם מחית. אבינו מלכנו בכל סוכת שלומך על יושבי תבל ארצך ככתוב ונתתי שלום בארץ ושכבתם ואין מחית והשיבותי חיה רעה מן הארץ וחרב לא תעבור בארצכם. בכינו אבינו בביטחון ושלווה ושים שלום אמיתי וקיים על מדינת ישראל ועל כל יושבי תל ארצך. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ויעלה כל ישראל ואמרו amen.
Thank you, Alex. And now we will head over to Sarah, who's going to lead us in the prayer for the GCC.
Thank you so much. So good to be here with all of you. Shabbat Shalom. May he who gives salvation to kings and dominion to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, who delivers his servant David from the evil sword, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters, bless and protect, guard and help, exalt, magnify, and uplift. His Majesty, the King of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, the King of Bahrain, His Majesty, the Sultan of Oman, His Highness, the President of the UAE, His Highness, the Emir of Kuwait, and His Highness, the Emir of Qatar, and all their crown princes. And may the Supreme King of Kings in his mercy put a spirit of wisdom and understanding into their hearts and the hearts of all their counselors and officials to deal kindly with us, the house of Jacob and all the people of this land. Be their shelter and stronghold and let them not falter. In their days and in ours, may these lands be blessed with stability, prosperity, and peace. May this be his will, and let us say amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And now, before we turn back to Alex, who will usher us out with Shalom Aleichem, just a quick reminder to please join us the next 2 weeks. Next week, we have Yossi Schneider, who's the cousin of the Bibas family, who's been held as hostages in Gaza since October 7th. So we ask that you please join us. The following week, we'll have Lior Raz and Avi Yisrof from the famed television show Fauda. They'll be joining us. Many of you probably know that they have an upcoming piece that they're working on that tells the story of the T-Bone family, whose grandfather came and rescued them from where they were living on October 7th. So please join us. We'll then take a month for the Jewish holidays, but you have to join us the first week in November. We'll be marking our 3rd year since taking over the Zoom. So please join us that first week again in November. And now, Alex, I'll turn it over to you for Shalom Aleichem.
Wow, Fauda, exciting. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Yoni, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Lishalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Yon, Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bachoni Leshalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem Lishalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.